The emergency lights cast a sickly green pallor across the underground research facility. Emma Miller's fingers trembled slightly as she adjusted the quantum resonance matrix, her eyes burning from hours of continuous work. Outside the reinforced walls, humanity's last stand was crumbling. 12 years of war had reduced the human expansion into deep space to a series of desperate, scattered outposts. The Zarkon hegemony had been methodical in their destruction, sweeping through human colonies like a plague of metal and plasma. What had begun as a minor territorial dispute had escalated into a war of extermination. Dr. Miller, a voice crackled through the communication system. Jack's face appeared on the nearby screen, his eyes hollow but determined. Even through the video link, she could see the fresh burn marks on his combat armor. Another close call. She allowed herself a momentary smile. Her husband had always been good at close calls. The research facility sat deep beneath the surface of Europa, Jupiter's icy moon. It was humanity's last true sanctuary, a place where the most brilliant minds had been gathered to solve what seemed like an impossible problem. How do you fight an enemy that outmatches you in every conceivable way? The Zarkon ships were technological marvels. Each vessel could obliterate an entire human colony in minutes. Their faster-than-light technology made human ships look like ancient wooden boats competing against modern aircraft carriers. Worse, the alien technology seemed to defy the fundamental laws of physics as understood by human scientists. Emma's team had been working on something different, not just an improvement to existing faster-than-light technology, but a complete reimagining of spatial translation. Dr. Kyle Rodriguez approached, carrying a steaming cup of synthetic coffee. Despite the dire circumstances, he managed a weak smile. "Another 14-hour shift?" he asked, setting the cup down beside her. "We don't have the luxury of normal working hours," Emma responded, her eyes never leaving the complex holographic display. Quantum entanglement calculations danced before her, a beautiful and terrifying mathematical ballet. The facility housed 247 of humanity's most brilliant scientific minds. Each one had been extracted from various research centers, universities, and military laboratories. They were the last hope, not just for survival, but for proving that humanity could be more than just another footnote in galactic history. A deep rumble shook the facility. Dust cascaded from the reinforced concrete ceiling. "Another bombardment," Kyle muttered, checking the facility's defensive shields. "They're getting closer." Emma knew the statistics. The human defense fleet had been reduced to less than 3% of its original strength. Each day, more colonies went dark. More communication signals were silenced. The Zarkon didn't just want to defeat humanity. They wanted to erase any evidence that humans had ever existed. But they didn't understand human desperation. They didn't comprehend the depth of human innovation. The quantum drive prototype looked deceptively simple, where other faster-than-light technologies required massive energy expenditures and left significant spatial disturbances. This design was elegant in its simplicity. It didn't push against the universe's limitations. It found a way to slip between them. "Status report," Emma said, her voice cutting through the ambient facility noise. Kyle pulled up the latest diagnostic information. Quantum coherence is stable at 94.7%. Material stress tests are showing unprecedented results. If the theoretical models are correct, we're looking at a technology that could rewrite everything we know about spatial translation. Another explosion. Closer this time. Jack's voice returned to the communication system. "Emma, we can't hold them off much longer. Whatever you're working on, it needs to be ready soon." She understood the unspoken message. Soon wasn't just a matter of scientific progress. Soon meant survival. The quantum drive hummed softly, a quiet defiance against the chaos erupting above ground. Humanity's last invention. Humanity's final hope. Emma Miller continued her calculations, each equation a weapon more powerful than any plasma cannon. The universe was about to learn that humans fought best when cornered. Colonel Richard Thompson studied the quantum drive prototype with a mixture of skepticism and desperate hope. It looked nothing like the massive faster-than-light engines that had defined interstellar travel for centuries. This device was compact, almost underwhelming, no larger than an old-fashioned motorcycle engine, yet it hummed with a potential that could change everything. The research facility's main laboratory buzzed with nervous energy. Scientists and engineers moved with the precision of a military operation, each understanding that their work was humanity's last real chance at survival. Holographic displays flickered with complex calculations, mathematical symphonies that seemed to dance between possibility and madness. It defies everything we know about space-time translation, Dr. Kyle Rodriguez muttered, his fingers dancing across a translucent interface. He pulled up a series of comparative charts, traditional FTL technologies versus their revolutionary new design. The difference was stark. Where conventional drives required massive energy expenditures and left enormous spatial disturbances, this prototype promised something entirely different. Emma Miller watched the preliminary tests with a scientist's clinical detachment and a human's desperate hope. Her team had been working for months, pushing the boundaries of quantum mechanics in ways that would have been considered pure science fiction just a decade ago. The Zarkon hegemony had spent millennia perfecting their faster-than-light technology, believing they had reached the pinnacle of spatial translation. They were wrong. Energy consumption is at 0.03% of standard FTL drives, announced Dr. Sarah Williams, the team's lead energy systems analyst. Her voice carried a note of disbelief. "I've triple-checked the readings. This isn't just an improvement. It's a complete reimagining of spatial travel." Colonel Thompson cleared his throat. "Explain that in terms I can understand," he demanded. Military leaders had always been more interested in practical applications than theoretical possibilities. Kyle stepped forward, his excitement barely contained. "Imagine traditional faster-than-light travel like trying to punch through a wall. You need enormous strength, create massive damage, and leave a very obvious hole. Our quantum drive doesn't punch. It finds the spaces between the molecules. It doesn't create a disturbance because it's not fighting the universe. It's negotiating with it." The prototype sat on a specially designed quantum-stabilized platform. Its exterior was a matte black, almost absorbing the laboratory's light. Intricate quantum entanglement circuits were visible through a transparent section, looking more like an abstract art piece than a revolutionary piece of technology. The Zarkon tracking systems are designed to detect massive energy signatures, Emma explained. They hunt for the spatial disturbances created by traditional faster-than-light jumps. Our drive produces no such signature. It's like the difference between a thundering elephant and a ghost. A notification pinged on the main display. The first full simulation was complete. The room went silent. Simulation results showed impossible scenarios, spatial translations that theoretically shouldn't exist, jumps that defied every known law of physics. The quantum drive didn't just improve faster-than-light travel, it rewrote the fundamental understanding of spatial movement. "We'll need a pilot," Colonel Thompson said, breaking the stunned silence. "Someone who understands both the technical complexity and the potential risks." Everyone knew what he meant. This wasn't a standard test flight. This was humanity's Hail Mary pass. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up a list of potential candidates, experienced pilots who had survived multiple encounters with the Zarkon. Individuals who understood that this test was more than a scientific experiment. It was potentially the last hope for human survival. Emma's hand found the communication device. She needed to tell Jack about their progress. Her husband, currently fighting a desperate defensive action on the outer colonies, represented everything their research was fighting for. The quantum drive continued to hum. Softly, quietly, a subtle challenge to a universe that had counted humanity out. They were about to prove everyone wrong. Lieutenant Amanda Garcia's fingers traced the control interface of the experimental starship, her touch both reverent and calculating. The vessel looked nothing like traditional human or Zarkon spacecraft. Sleek, compact, with lines that seemed to blur the boundary between engineering and art, it represented humanity's most audacious scientific gamble. The pre-flight briefing had been surreal. Dr. Emma Miller and her team had laid out parameters that seemed to defy every known principle of spaceflight. No massive energy buildup, no detectable spatial disturbance. Just a quiet translation that would theoretically move the ship vast distances in less time than it took to draw a breath. Final systems check. Colonel Richard Thompson's voice crackled through the communication system. His tone carried the weight of humanity's last hope. Amanda ran through the checklist with mechanical precision. Each system responded perfectly. The quantum drive sat at the heart of the ship, a compact marvel that looked more like an intricate piece of jewelry than a revolutionary propulsion system. Dr. Kyle Rodriguez's voice cut through the pre-flight tension. Remember, Lieutenant, what we're attempting has never been done before. The mathematical models are sound, but theoretical physics has a way of surprising us. She understood the unspoken message. This wasn't just a test flight. This was humanity's final card in a game of cosmic survival. The research facility had been moved deep beneath the icy surface of Europa, Jupiter's most strategic moon. Layers of rock and ice provided protection from potential Zarkon scanning technologies. If something went wrong, the loss would be contained. If something went right, it would change everything. Amanda's flight suit was a marvel of adaptive technology. Biosensors monitored her vital signs, while quantum-entangled communication systems allowed her to maintain contact even if traditional communication methods failed. The suit itself was a testament to human ingenuity. Lightweight, responsive, capable of protecting her in environments that would instantly kill most biological entities. "Quantum drive powering up," she reported, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. The ship's interior was Spartan. No unnecessary displays, no redundant systems. Every gram of mass had been carefully calculated. Traditional spacecraft were designed with layers of backup systems, a testament to their inherent unreliability. This ship was different. Each component was precisely engineered, each system a masterpiece of efficiency. A soft hum began to build. Not the thunderous roar of traditional faster-than-light drives, but a subtle vibration that seemed to exist more in the realm of quantum possibility than physical reality. Dr. Emma Miller watched from the control center, her breath caught in her throat. Years of research, countless sleepless nights, the collective hopes of a nearly defeated species, everything rode on the next few moments. Spatial translation sequence initiated, Amanda reported. The quantum drive didn't push against the universe. It didn't tear space or create massive energy disturbances. Instead, it found the microscopic pathways between existing spatial configurations. Where other technologies fought against the fundamental laws of physics, this drive simply negotiated. For a fraction of a microsecond, the ship seemed to exist everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Then, silence. Translation complete. Amanda's voice came through, calm and collected. Verification incoming. The control room erupted into controlled chaos. Sensor readings flooded the main display. Navigation computers worked overtime, cross-referencing the ship's reported position with known star charts. "Impossible," muttered Dr. Rodriguez, studying the data. "We've just traversed 500 light-years in less time than it takes to blink." But the data was irrefutable. The ship had moved instantaneously, leaving no detectable energy signature, no spatial disturbance, nothing that the Zarkon tracking systems could identify or intercept. Colonel Thompson's hand found the communication button. "Confirm your status, Lieutenant Garcia." "Systems nominal," she responded. "Location verified. Ready for return translation." In that moment, humanity's entire strategic position had changed. The Zarkon hegemony, which had believed itself invincible, had just become vulnerable. The quantum drive continued its soft, almost imperceptible hum, a quiet revolution that would rewrite the rules of interstellar conflict. The first strike came without warning. Deep within the Zarkon supply nexus on the industrial world of Krastvol, maintenance systems suddenly went dark. Massive storage facilities housing critical military resources simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no radiation signature, no detectable energy discharge. just absence. Colonel Richard Thompson leaned over the strategic holographic display, a predatory smile crossing his weathered face. Ghost Protocol, he muttered to Major Sarah Williams, his chief tactical analyst. The strategy was brutally elegant. Humanity's new quantum drive technology allowed for precision strikes that defied every known principle of military engagement. Where traditional warfare relied on massive fleet movements and overwhelming force, these attacks were surgical, silent, impossible to predict or defend against. Major Williams pulled up the reconnaissance data. First target was a critical antimatter storage facility. Estimated loss to Zarkon military capacity, 42% of their deep space resupply capabilities. She paused, letting the significance sink in. And we did it without losing a single human life. The quantum drive had transformed warfare from a game of massive confrontation to one of surgical precision. Each human strike team could now appear anywhere in the galaxy, complete their mission, and vanish before the enemy could even comprehend what had happened. Lieutenant Amanda Garcia, fresh from the successful prototype test, led the first Special Operations team. Her squad consisted of 6 highly trained operatives, each equipped with quantum translation devices that allowed for near-instantaneous movement. They were no longer soldiers in the traditional sense. They were quantum ghosts existing between the moments of traditional spacetime. Their first mission targeted the Zarkon's most critical communication relays. These massive orbital structures had been the backbone of the alien military's coordination for centuries. Destroying them would be like cutting the central nervous system of their entire military apparatus. Target acquisition in 3. Garcia's voice came through the quantum-encrypted communication channel. 2. 1. On the strategic display, a series of red markers simply winked out of existence. No explosions, no debris, just complete surgical removal. Dr. Emma Miller watched from the research facility, understanding the deeper implications of what they had created. This wasn't just a new technology. This was a complete reimagining of military strategy. The Zarkon tracking systems were designed to detect massive energy signatures. They looked for the telltale signs of faster-than-light travel, huge power buildups, spatial disturbances, radiation emissions. The human quantum drive produced none of these. It was like trying to catch a ghost with a fishing net. Jack Miller, now leading a broader strategic coordination team, explained the approach to a group of senior military commanders. "We're not fighting their war," he said, pointing to a holographic representation of known Zarkon military routes. "We're fighting a war they don't even understand exists." Each strike was carefully calculated. Critical infrastructure, communication relays, supply depots. The human strategy wasn't about total destruction. It was about systematic dismantling. Death by 1,000 precise cuts. Within weeks, the Zarkon military leadership began to unravel. Their communication networks fragmented. Supply lines collapsed. Strategic coordination became impossible. An enemy that could appear anywhere, at any time, with no warning. How do you defend against a threat you can't even comprehend? They're used to fighting enemies that confront them directly, Major Williams noted during a strategy briefing. Their entire military doctrine is built around massive, overwhelming force. We've turned that completely on its head. The quantum drive had done more than provide a technological advantage. It had fundamentally changed the nature of conflict. Lieutenant Garcia's team continued their missions. One moment that they would be gathering critical intelligence from a heavily guarded Zarkon research facility. The next, they would be disrupting a critical military installation thousands of light years away. No trace, no warning, just systematic, precise elimination. Humanity had transformed from a species on the brink of extinction to a force that could literally appear and disappear at will. The Zarkon were about to learn a critical lesson. Never corner a species with nothing left to lose. The quantum drive continued its soft, almost imperceptible hum. A quiet revolution that would rewrite the rules of interstellar conflict. The grand research complex of the Zarkon hegemony burned with a fever of frustrated innovation. Thousands of the most brilliant minds in the known galaxy worked around the clock, their collective intelligence focused on a single maddening problem: understanding the human quantum drive technology. High researcher Krasnak slammed his manipulative appendages against the holographic display, shattering another set of computational models. Decades of established scientific understanding had been reduced to meaningless equations. The humans had done something that should have been impossible, and they had done it with breathtaking simplicity. Impossible, he muttered in the complex's primary communication frequency. No species can simply rewrite the fundamental laws of spatial translation. But they had. The Zarkon research facilities were marvels of technological achievement. Massive computational arrays that could process more information in a microsecond than most civilizations could in a century. Quantum computers that made human technology look like primitive counting machines, yet they remained utterly baffled by the human breakthrough. Dr. Emily Rodriguez's research team had discovered something fundamental that the Zarkon had overlooked. Where alien scientific approaches relied on overwhelming computational power, human innovation came from a different place entirely: creative intuition. They didn't just calculate possibilities. They imagined them. The quantum drive doesn't follow our established mathematical models, explained Dr. Kyle Rodriguez during a classified briefing. It's not about brute force computation. It's about understanding the negotiable nature of space-time itself. The human approach was maddeningly elegant. Traditional faster-than-light technologies tried to punch through the fabric of space. The human quantum drive simply asked politely. It found the microscopic pathways between existing spatial configurations, sliding between moments rather than forcing its way through. On the Zarkon homeworld, entire research complexes were being reproposed. Thousands of computational arrays worked simultaneously, each attacking the problem from a different angle. Military leaders demanded solutions. The survival of their entire civilization depended on understanding this technology. But understanding was proving impossible. Each computational model failed. Each simulation collapsed. The human quantum drive seemed to exist in a realm between mathematical possibility and pure imagination. It was as if the humans had discovered a language of spatial movement that the Zarkon couldn't even comprehend. "We've detected no energy signature," reported senior computational analyst Zornak. "No spatial disturbance. It's like the ships simply exist in multiple locations simultaneously." The implications were terrifying. A technology that could move without detection, strike without warning, exist in multiple states at once. This wasn't just a military advantage. This was a fundamental reimagining of spatial interaction. Massive research facilities worked around the clock. Entire planetary resources were redirected. The Zarkon were a species built on technological supremacy, and for the first time in their history, they faced a technological challenge they couldn't immediately overcome. Colonel Richard Thompson watched the alien response with a knowing smile. "They're approaching this like a mathematical problem," he told Major Sarah Williams. But mathematics was never the real breakthrough. Imagination was. The human quantum drive team understood something profound. Technology wasn't just about calculation. It was about seeing possibilities that others couldn't even imagine. Zarkon research teams tried every approach: massive computational arrays, quantum analysis, dimensional mapping. Nothing worked. The human technology seemed to exist in a realm between mathematical possibility and pure creativity. "They're looking at our technology like a lock to be picked," Dr. Emma Miller explained to her team. "But we didn't create a lock. We created a door that didn't exist before." The Zarkon were beginning to understand a terrifying truth. Humanity wasn't just a species to be conquered. They were a civilization that could fundamentally rewrite the rules of technological engagement. As research facilities burned with frustrated energy, one thing became increasingly clear: the humans had discovered something far more powerful than a new form of faster-than-light travel. They had discovered a new way of thinking about the universe itself. The quantum drive continued its soft, almost imperceptible hum. A quiet revolution that would change everything. The Zarkon invasion fleet assembled with a sense of final victory. Thousands of warships, each a testament to centuries of technological superiority, converged on what appeared to be the last significant human settlement in the outer colonies. Intelligence reports suggested a vulnerable target, a research outpost with minimal defensive capabilities. What the Zarkon didn't realize was that every aspect of the approaching battlefield had been meticulously prepared. Colonel Richard Thompson stood in the Central Command Center, a holographic display of the incoming alien fleet rotating slowly before him. Major Sarah Williams approached, her fingers dancing across a quantum-encrypted communication interface. "Bait is set," she reported. "They're taking it exactly as we predicted." The human strategy was a masterpiece of misdirection. What looked like a vulnerable colony was actually an intricate trap designed to exploit every weakness in Zarkon military doctrine. Each defensive position, each seemingly random piece of infrastructure, was a carefully placed component of a much larger strategic puzzle. Lieutenant Amanda Garcia led the first Quantum Strike team. Her squad moved with a precision that defied traditional understanding of military engagement. They weren't soldiers in the conventional sense. They were quantum ghosts existing between moments of spatial reality. Incoming fleet composition, reported Dr. Emily Rodriguez, analyzing the sensor data. Approximately 3,247 capital ships. Standard assault formation. They're committing everything to this strike. Jack Miller studied the tactical display, a grim smile crossing his face. The Zarkon believed they were executing a final decisive blow against humanity. In reality, they were walking into a trap of such complexity that it would be studied in military academies for centuries. The first wave of Zarkon ships entered the outer defensive perimeter. Traditional sensor systems showed exactly what the aliens expected to see: a vulnerable human settlement with minimal defensive capabilities. Quantum-masked defensive systems remained completely invisible, waiting. "They're so focused on total destruction," Colonel Thompson muttered. "They can't see the layers of deception." Each defensive position was a carefully constructed illusion. Holographic projections, quantum-masked defensive systems, strategically placed decoys. The entire battlefield was a complex mathematical equation designed to exploit the Zarkon's predictive algorithms. The alien fleet began its assault. Massive energy weapons fired, targeting what appeared to be critical infrastructure. But each target was a carefully prepared kill zone. Where the Zarkon expected total destruction, they found nothing but elaborate traps. "Quantum strike teams in position," Lieutenant Garcia reported. Her voice was calm, almost detached. This was more than a battle. This was a surgical dismantling of an entire military doctrine. The human strategy defied every principle of traditional warfare. They didn't seek to match the Zarkon's overwhelming firepower. Instead, they attacked the very foundations of the alien military's understanding of conflict. Entire squadrons of Zarkon ships found themselves redirected into carefully prepared kill zones. Quantum-masked defensive systems appeared and disappeared, turning the battlefield into a nightmarish landscape of impossible engagement. "They're trying to adapt," Dr. Rodriguez noted, watching the alien fleet's increasingly desperate maneuvers. "But adaptation requires understanding, and they don't understand anything about what's happening." Jack Miller understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about winning a single battle. This was about demonstrating the fundamental difference between human and Zarkon approaches to conflict. The quantum strike teams moved with impossible precision. One moment, a critical Zarkon command ship would be fully operational. The next, it would simply cease to exist. No explosion, no debris, just complete and total removal from the battlefield. Estimated enemy losses, Major Williams reported, 74% of original fleet strength, and they haven't even realized the full extent of the trap. The Zarkon had always believed in overwhelming force. Massive ships, incredible firepower, total destruction. The humans had discovered something far more powerful: the ability to exist outside the traditional rules of engagement. As the battle reached its crescendo, One thing became abundantly clear. Humanity was no longer fighting to survive. They were fighting to redefine the very nature of conflict itself. The quantum drive continued its soft, almost imperceptible hum, a quiet revolution that would change everything. The Zarkon homeworld loomed like a fortress of impossible complexity. Massive defense networks surrounded the planet. Layers of quantum shields, interdimensional tracking systems, and orbital platforms that could obliterate entire fleets in microseconds. No species had ever successfully penetrated their primary defense grid. Jack Miller studied the mission parameters with a surgeon's precision. "This isn't an invasion," he told Lieutenant Amanda Garcia. "This is a surgical strike that will rewrite galactic history." Their team consisted of 6 operatives, each selected for a specific set of skills that went beyond traditional military training. Dr. Emily Rodriguez had spent months preparing them, integrating quantum translation devices directly into their combat suits. They weren't just soldiers anymore. They were living quantum algorithms, capable of existing in multiple states simultaneously. The quantum drive allowed for a type of infiltration that defied every known principle of military engagement. Where traditional insertion methods required massive energy expenditures and left detectable signatures, this approach was elegantly simple. The team would essentially negotiate their way through the most sophisticated defense system in the known galaxy. "Final systems check," Amanda commanded. Each team member's suit hummed with a soft quantum resonance. Biosystems integrated with quantum translation devices, communication channels encrypted across multiple dimensional frequencies. They were more than a strike team. They were a living, breathing technological marvel. The Zarkon had spent millennia building their homeworld's defense systems. Massive computational arrays monitored every conceivable approach. Interdimensional tracking systems could detect the slightest spatial disturbance. Their primary research facilities were protected by layers of technology that made human early warning systems look like primitive alarm bells. They never saw the humans coming. The first insertion point was a critical research complex deep within the planet's primary defense grid. Traditional insertion would have required months of preparation, multiple fleet engagements, and would have resulted in massive casualties. Their quantum approach took less than 3 milliseconds. "Insertion complete," Amanda reported. Her voice was calm, almost clinical. No detection. No spatial disturbance. Jack Miller's strategic planning was evident in every moment of the mission. Each team member had a specific objective: disrupt critical research systems, extract key technological data, demonstrate the fundamental vulnerability of a civilization too confident in its own superiority. Dr. Rodriguez had prepared them for more than just a military mission. They carried devices that would fundamentally challenge the Zarkon's understanding of technological possibility. This wasn't just about winning a war. This was about proving a point. The research complex was a marvel of alien engineering. Massive computational arrays that could process more information in a microsecond than most civilizations could in a century. Quantum computers that made human early technologies look like primitive counting machines. They would leave nothing behind. No trace, no evidence, just a fundamental demonstration of human capability. "Primary objective approaching," Amanda reported. The team moved with a precision that defied traditional understanding of movement. One moment they would exist in a specific location. The next, they would be somewhere else entirely, not through traditional movement, but through a quantum negotiation of spatial reality. The Zarkon leadership watched in real time as their most secure facilities simply began to disappear. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply removed from existence with a surgical precision that defied comprehension. Colonel Richard Thompson monitored the mission from the Human Command Center. "This isn't just a military strike," he told Major Sarah Williams. "This is a philosophical statement. Each extracted piece of technology, each disrupted research system was a message. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. They were demonstrating a fundamental understanding of technological possibility that the Zarkon could never comprehend." As the mission reached its final stages, the true depth of human innovation became clear. They weren't just defeating an enemy. They were fundamentally reshaping the understanding of what was possible. The quantum drive continued its soft, almost imperceptible hum, a quiet revolution that would change everything. The Galactic conference hall fell silent as Dr. Emma Miller stepped forward. Representatives from nearly 200 different spacefaring civilizations watched with a mixture of fear, respect, and barely contained curiosity. Humanity had transformed from a species on the brink of extinction to the most significant technological power in known space. Jack Miller stood at the edge of the stage, watching his wife prepare to reshape galactic politics. The quantum drive had done more than win a war. It had fundamentally altered the understanding of technological possibility. "What we've discovered," Emma began, her voice calm and measured, "is not just a new form of transportation. It's a fundamental reimagining of how intelligent species can interact with the universe itself." The Zarkan delegation sat in stunned silence. Their once mighty civilization had been reduced to a cautionary tale, a warning about the dangers of technological arrogance. Where they had once believed in overwhelming force, humanity had demonstrated the power of creative innovation. Colonel Richard Thompson reviewed the diplomatic briefings. The geopolitical landscape had been completely rewritten. Civilizations that had watched humanity's near extinction now sought alliance, technological exchange, diplomatic engagement. The quantum drive was more than a weapon. It was a diplomatic tool of unprecedented potential. "We're not offering technology," Major Sarah Williams explained during a closed-door diplomatic session. "We're offering a new way of thinking, an approach to problem-solving that goes beyond traditional computational models." The economic implications were staggering. The quantum drive made traditional faster-than-light transportation look like ancient horse-drawn carriages. Entire industries would be transformed. Interstellar commerce would be revolutionized. Distance became a meaningless concept. Dr. Kyle Rodriguez presented the first public demonstrations, ships that could traverse thousands of light years in less time than it took to brew a cup of coffee, communication systems that operated beyond the limitations of traditional signal transmission, technologies that seemed to dance between the boundaries of possibility and imagination. Lieutenant Amanda Garcia, now a key diplomatic liaison, understood the deeper significance. This wasn't just about technological superiority. This was about demonstrating a fundamental approach to problem-solving that challenged every existing galactic paradigm. The research teams that had developed the quantum drive became instant celebrities across multiple civilizations. Dr. Emily Rodriguez found herself fielding requests from scientific delegations representing species humans had never even imagined existed. Each request was a testament to the universal language of innovation. "We didn't just develop a technology," Emma Miller explained during a scientific symposium. "We discovered a new way of negotiating with the universe itself." Diplomatic missions became quantum-powered explorations of possibility. Where traditional diplomacy required months of travel and complex negotiations, human envoys could now appear, engage, and depart with unprecedented efficiency. The entire concept of interstellar diplomacy was being rewritten. The economic potential was beyond comprehension. Asteroid mining became instantaneous. Resource extraction could happen across multiple star systems simultaneously. Entire planetary economies were restructured around the new technological paradigm. Jack Miller watched the transformations with a sense of profound understanding. Humanity's near extinction had forced them to think differently. Where other civilizations saw limitations, humans saw opportunities. Where others calculated, humans imagined. Scientific delegations from across the galaxy studied the quantum drive technology, but they quickly discovered that the real breakthrough wasn't in the technical specifications. It was in the fundamental approach, a uniquely human blend of creative intuition and rigorous scientific methodology. The Zarkan, once the most powerful civilization in known space, now served as a diplomatic partner. Their massive computational resources were now applied to collaborative research, their military might redirected toward exploration and scientific discovery. "We're not conquerors," Emma told the Galactic Council. "We're explorers. Our technology is an invitation to reimagine what's possible." As the first wave of quantum-powered exploration vessels prepared for launch, humanity stood at the cusp of a new era. They had transformed from a species fighting for survival to the primary architects of a new galactic understanding. The quantum drive continued its soft, almost imperceptible hum, a quiet revolution that would change everything.